I have no idea. Guys, I have no idea. No idea what just happened. No idea. No idea. Don't know. So, you know what, guys? I didn't get to see those questions, and I'm embarrassed to ask you to hit me with them again, but you're going to have to do that so I can answer them. So, I don't know if that's me or if it's the internet connection or what. I have no idea what happened here. So, my deepest... I'd like to apologize. I don't know what I'm apologizing for. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's the memory of this computer or what. I don't know. So, okay, guys. I hate to tell you, bring the questions back to me because I didn't get to read them. And if you don't come back on, then I'll go back when I finish here and come back and tie into those and see what they were, and I'll answer them in writing. So, I think I'll just have some bourbon. Always loved Trey Carpenter. You know, Trey is a retired wildlife biologist from down in the hill country. And he's just had a ball. He was blessed to be able to retire early enough so he could actually go out and do more fun things, and he still does. And so, Trey, well, I'm glad that you're willing to accept responsibility. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about this. Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. Hello, Todd. Again. I don't know what the deal is here. Looks like I'm going to have to do a little investigation. Peyton Igo, come back on, buddy. Tell me, I know there's some questions. Some guys ask if turtles are bad for, oh, okay. All right, there we go. Some guy asked if turtles are bad for a 1 acre pond. No, turtles are not bad. Turtles are normal. So, now here, I'm going to tell you this. Turtles are fish food hogs, and when you're paying, hello, Wayne. I don't know what happened. I don't know if you were on there a while ago or not, but things happened, and it disappeared. It just, all of a sudden, I'm looking at a blank screen instead of my face and your question, so I don't know what happened. I don't know where it went. So I'm not going to belittle that point. I'm going to get right back into the topics. So I started tying all that together. We kind of got there. Let's talk about the turtles are bad for a 1 acre pond. They're not. Turtles are normal. Now, you know, used to when I'd give speeches, that was one of the standard questions. How do I get rid of turtles? So the first thing, hello, Leah and Scott. I tell people, if a turtle eats a fish, the fish deserved it. But I tell you what they will do. They'll eat your fish food, and if you're paying $60 a bag for fish food because the price of everything is skyrocketed, you know, you don't want the turtles to eat it. Okay, there comes Peyton. Oh, good, he copied and pasted. Good, I'm going to get right to that. I'm going to handle this turtle question before this thing stops on us again, which I have no idea what happened. So, turtles are also disruptive to nests. $70. So, okay, Trey, I'm trying to catch on to that. I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. That's 2 subscriptions to Pond Boss. That's 1 for you and a gift subscription. $70. Last a year. Cheaper than 2 Friday night dates. So, on the turtle thing, I think if you've got more than 15 or 20 in a 1 acre pond, that's borderline too many. We had a swimming pond where we moved from over at LL Comma 2, and there was one time I counted 55 heads that I could see. So we started to show them their Second Amendment rights, and my grandkids got to learn how to use the 22. I did trap some and relocate them to a wildlife refuge. Oh, $70. Got it. Bluegill, okay, $70 for a bag of fish food. Told you I was a little slow on the uptake. I just said 60 or $65. $70, that's ridiculous. I need to talk to those guys about that. I don't know what the heck that they're thinking about. Here's my damn hair messing with me again. Left hand up. Oh, no, that's the wrong way. This video is backwards. Well, it's kind of not. But, all right, so turtles, they're nest droppers. Hey, John, thanks for hanging in there with me, man. I don't know what happened. No idea. I'm going to have to go back and dig into my laptop and see if I've chewed up too much memory, which I very well may have. And if that's the case, that's happened before because I've been cranking out a lot of photos lately. Okay, so Turtles, if you got more than 15 or 20 in a 1 acre pond, I'd sure explore the opportunity to trap a few of them, and then you can either show them their Second Amendment rights or go relocate them. Give them to a neighbor you don't like. I didn't really say that. Well, I kind of did. All right, Peyton, got a question for you. If one lake that has a hardness of 125 parts per million and an alkalinity of 85 parts per million, but the pH is measuring over 9.5 at three different sample times, daylight, midnight, and dusk, how do you like to control that pH level? Adding carbon dioxide? No, don't do that. Fresh water, depending on the source. Peat moss. Okay, so what that tells me is when the pH measures over 9.5, that's probably because it's got calcium sulfate at a higher natural level. So I would look at the other minerals and see. And I tell you something you might be able to do with that. Peat moss, peat moss is a good idea. The thing about peat moss, though, when you add it, now you're adding organic matter. Fresh water, depending on the source. So if there's a water well, I'd like to find out the original water source, because a pH of 9.5 when the alkalinity is only 85 parts per million, that tells me that something else is going on. And it could be because that person's using a well. So the hardness will be calcium hardness, but it doesn't necessarily be calcium carbonate. And I bet you if you dig into that, look at that water chemistry, I bet you there's an overabundance of gypsum in there that's pushing that. The only other thing I can think of is if somebody has tried to adjust the pH with lime and used the wrong kind of lime. I would ask that question. If they changed if they were told that the pH was too low and that the alkalinity was too low, and they wanted to improve it, and they went and bought hydrated lime. Hydrated lime can do that, keep the alkalinity down, push the hardness up. So I'd be digging into that. Hydrated lime is calcium hydroxide. And, calcium sulfate is gypsum. I've seen calcium sulfate do that to the pH. I've seen hydrated lime do that to the pH. So before I decided how to remedy it, I would figure out the cause of it. Because there's got to be a reason for it, because I'm going to tell you this, that's natural in some parts of the country, but I know where you live near Shreveport, that's not normal there. That's not normal there. Unless, the only way that could be normal is if that's a lake that's a gravel pit or a rock pit, or it's excavated down in 30 or 40 feet deep where they could have hit something else. All right, let's see here. We have not met. I've been watching for a few weeks. A lurker. I did that too. It's pretty funny. Okay, so now, no, it is not my product. So here's the deal on that. There's another pond boss that went around our trademark, and I can't defeat it because they're in a different niche. So they sell backyard water garden stuff. And I talked to an IT attorney about it, and I'm not going to pursue that. It's not that juice is not worth the squeeze for the amount of money that would cost to go do it. But I'll tell you this, 5-CBBT or 5 ProBlock bacterial on Amazon, that is not my product, but I'm going to tell you this, pretty much the reputable bacterial products that are out there don't hurt the fish. What those things do essentially is they enhance the microbial activity at the pond bottom water interface, try to help expedite the breakdown of organic matter. So it's nothing that's going to be toxic to fish or anything like that. The lake is in Central Texas. Well, that explains it. That makes more sense. Okay, so I get that. All right, so I can see, in Louisiana, that ain't cool. But in Central Texas, matter of fact, I think I know where you're talking about now. That's going to be minerals that are dissolved in that water. And I don't know that there is a good answer for that. The best answer may be having a plant like Cara Actually, you know what? I would encourage Peyton. I would encourage Cara, because Cara takes up a lot of that extra calcium, and it's kind of an offset. You know, where you're going to end up with some plants. They're not going to be invasive, and they can help adjust the water chemistry some. And the best thing you can do over there for that's a rain dance. Because those lakes, part of the reason that pH is like that is due to evaporation. It's probably because there's gypsum in the soil, which is pretty normal in a good part of central Texas, depending on where you are. If that's over there, kind of south and west of Abilene, or even east of Abilene, that whole area is notorious for that kind of water chemistry. Okay, John, tested your water, recommended them in southern Indiana. My results was 0 hardness, 200 alkalinity, 6.5 pH on my new pond. Huh. Let me think about that a minute. Trying to think how you can have 0 hardness. You know, I've been studying water chemistry for close to 50 years. And there's things I still don't get, which is aggravating as hell. And I don't know, I mean, even the experts I've talked to over the years, including Dr. Claude Boyd, who's the preeminent expert, those are kind of questions that are really hard to answer. So let me think about that. How can you have 0 hardness? Because it's typically calcium hardness. Wait. I think I may have this. It's a brand new pond. I know what it is. I had to think about it. This is a pecan-infused bourbon from Sledge Distillery. I think they'll ship. It's really pretty good. It's a little high. It's $35 for a little bitty bottle. But it's a pretty good sipper. Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you about that. I'm going to tell you... yeah, you ought to try it. It's really pretty good. I know how the hardness can be that way. It's because there's something else going on in there. The pH of 6.5 is mildly acidic. And the acidic side is taking up a bunch of calcium. So what I think is happening there, as I ponder this a little bit, forgive the pun, I bet you've got a source of a mild acid. Is there pine trees around there? That may be it. You may have pine trees, and you may have some tannic soils. I don't know where you are, but there's something organic going on that's causing the hardness to go to 0 and still having. What that means is if you're no pines, okay. So if your hardness is 0, there's something in there consuming that, and it may be organic. I don't know what that is, because typically it would be something like 30 or 40 parts per million hardness for 200 parts per million alkalinity. If your hardness was up, your alkalinity would be up. I'm going to tell you this: that's pretty healthy water. So you guys hit me with some more questions. You know, I hope we didn't lose a whole bunch of people when this thing just cut off for no particular reason on the planet. I'm so glad Trey admitted it. No, he didn't really admit it. He put the word probably in there, so that disqualifies that. All right. You guys hit me some more questions, or I'm going to have to kind of think on my feet. Okay, I'll think on my feet. So let's go back to the concept of tying things. 8-acre area was all woods. We had it that's it. There it is. You had it mulched and cleared. Okay. All right. So that tells me something right there. Good question, Stephen. I'll tell you that here in a minute. So 8-acre area mulched. Okay. So when that's mulched, there's tannic acid built up in the mulch from those trees because they produce that. So that leaches into the water. When that leaches into the water, Mark Williams being nice about that creeping primrose. He's put a vendetta out on his creeping primrose over there in Mountain Home, Arkansas. So the mulch, I think the mulch is going to be part of the culprit that causes your hardness to be 0. That's my opinion. Organic matter will absolutely do that. I said absolutely. I guess I mean that because I had to think about it. Okay, Stephen Martine. I tell you, there's two things I do with water chemistry, and it kind of depends on what you want. If you want just a baseline of water chemistry, I go to the Soil Sciences Department website at Texas A&M University, and they've got what they call a standard water well test. And the standard water well test is $40, and it checks about 15 different parameters of water. Now, when you do that, tell them to email me the results as well. And my email is boblusk@outlook.com. And I will interpret that for you, and I will send you what my opinion is on that water chemistry. Now, if you want to go a little bit more in depth, let's say that your pond's muddy and you want to clear it up, you can go to the Aquatic Diagnostics Lab with Dr. Todd Sink at Texas A&M, totally different website. He's in the Range Wildlife and Fisheries Management Department. And so he can help you. Now, if you're looking for critters, microbiology, looking for algae, things like that, drop me an email and I'll connect you up with Bill Cody from Malenta, Ohio, who spends probably every waking hour with one of his eyes glued to a microscope. The link to Texas A&M, Mark Williams is asking, is the Soil Sciences Lab, and they've got water testing available. Pick the water well test. Pick the one that costs $40. All right, let's see what Michael Eric's got. Did I miss something? Oh yeah, Mark Williams on the. Yeah, I'm looking. Hey, dude, I'm down 80 pounds so far. Got more to go. I'm gonna knock off another 40 or so and see where we are. Should be able to have that done by October. Of course, here's some empty calories, but I saved room today because when I broadcast, I like to sip something. Screw creeping primrose. Creeping yellow water primrose. All right, let's see what Michael Eric's got up there in Iowa. 6 acre. Uh-oh, where'd it go? It kicked me down. I'm looking. Oh, here it is. 6 acre, 45-year-old pond, predators, largemouth bass, walleye, black crappie. Crappie spawned pretty well, I believe, weeks ago, and most of the bluegills, I believe, have had their first spawn. If I stock 200 2 to 3 inch radiator, what's your guess survival rate would be? A few weeds and several brush piles in this pond. Michael, I have no idea what your survival rate would be, but I know this. If you stock 200 2 to 3 inch radiator sunfish and you put them in fairly shallow water in the morning when the water's cool in vegetation where they could get oriented, then their odds of survival goes up. And I would put them all in the same place. If you spread them out, you're going to be feeding them to different bass and bluegill, crappie and walleye. So I would put them around the weeds and the brush piles. And if I were guessing, I tell you what, let's play that game. Let's say you lost 90%. That means 20 of them made it. And 20 radiators that make it to adulthood can be enough to populate that pond, given a long enough period of time. So that's not a bad rate, because you're going to pay probably $150 for those 2 to 3 inch radiator. In Iowa, they may be more. They may be a couple of $100. So if you spend a couple of $100 to get 20 of them up to 6 inches, that's not a bad return for that situation. Hey man, there's Ron Ardwan. Good to see Ron from down there at South Louisiana, Lake Charles. Good to see you, buddy. So let's see here. Good to see you, Ron, man. You and I need to catch up. I miss talking to you, dude. Okay, Scott and Leah, do gizzard shad have long-term effects on aquatic vegetation? I know I have them present. My 4-acre ponds have been super muddy all spring. I feel like the plant's growth has been very slow, but it's been extra rainy this spring. All right, so here's the deal on gizzard shad. I'm going to tell you all those stories. But you know what? We're going to do a commercial. It's 7 o'clock. Pond Boss, $35 a year. Hey, here's the May-June issue. That's the one that's out now. Cheaper than a Friday night date. Say it with me, Ron. Cheaper than a Friday night date, and that lasts a year. $35. And I promise you there's nuggets in each one of these issues that will help you. And that's the economy that fuels our ability to do stuff like this. Which it kind of does. I mean, just write a check. It's cheap. Credit card. We do that too. Also, Purina Mills. I've been talking to those guys, trying to get them recharged to put the largemouth fish food back on the market. They took it off, which is probably somebody that makes butter that made that decision. I don't know what the deal is, because it is a Land O'Lakes company. So I love Purina Mills. I love the foods they make. Disagree with their business practices from time to time, and I've told them that. But you can't beat their products. And I know that we don't like the price right now because it's doubled in the last 6 or 7 years. It's not their fault. It's the ingredients' fault. Let's blame it on COVID. Blame it on the Democrats. Or blame it on the Republicans. Or blame it on politicians. Or blame it on, I don't know. It's still cheap. It's cheaper than buying the fish. You can still, even at $70, or let's see, $70, that's $140 per 100. If they convert it 1.3 to 1, which is about right, that means for $140, you're going to spend about $1.75 to $1.90 a pound to grow a pound of fish, but you'd be paying $20 a pound if you bought. So that's still a pretty good deal, still a pretty good bang for that buck. Texas Hunter products. I love their feeders. I love their customer service. And check them out, TexasHunterProducts.com. Of course, I love to talk about their fish feeders, but they got wildlife feeders. They've got fish habitat. And I'll tell you something, they did a lot of R&D on trying to figure out that, my shiny nose is wearing me out. They spend a lot of time and money on research and development. They've got these cool lily pads. They got these neat trees. They got these, looks like teepees that you can put together under the water, And they're a little pricey, but when you buy them, they're there forever. They're not going to break down. They're not going to disappear like a Christmas tree will. Christmas trees, you need to do that about every 2 or 3 years, or really even once a year around Christmas, believe that or not. Easy Docks of Texas, they're another sponsor, another advertiser in Pond Boss. David Schneiderman, he was on the first broadcast. They got cut off, but check in with him. So let's see what Trey Carpenter's got. Oh, let's go back to the gizzard shad. You know what they call a gizzard shad? A gizzard shad? I'm going to tell you a little story. But I'm going to, since I'm out of that, I'm looking to make sure Debbie's not watching. Since I'm out of that pecan-infused stuff, we're going to go to Buffalo Trace. The Breakfast of Champions. And get a little sip of that. 2 fingers worth. So I got 4 fingers worth of bourbon tonight. That's got a little bit more bite to it. All right. I was fortunate enough back like 2006 or 7 to go to Canada and go fishing with Ray Scott, the founder of BASS. He invited me to tag along, and I got to go and be the guest, actually, of Dr. Jim Morgan, who is the Richmond Mill Lake Kingfisher Society back when that was really up and going good, and go hang out for a week, catch a smallmouth bass and walleye, and oh gosh, we even caught a few northern pike. It was really, really fun. But when we went, there were some celebrities coming. I knew they were coming. I didn't know if I'd get spending time with them, but it was like Bill Dance and Johnny Morris, owner of Bass Pro Shops, and he had one of his running buddies, Charlie Campbell, who passed away a couple of 3 years ago, and he also had Porter Wagner with them on that trip. This is like 15 years ago. No, 17 years ago. Yeah, good gosh, 17 years ago already. So anyway, I fly into International Falls, and I've shipped my gear ahead of time. So I had to go to a small freight hangar and get my gear, get my tackle bag and all my fishing poles and stuff I had in a shipping container, a fishing pole shipping thing. So I went to get that stuff, and I see this van full of people pulling up. And I see one guy going, "Hey, come here." And I looked at this Johnny Morris with his compadres. So the van pulls up, and the sliding door opens, and he says, "Come here." So I go over there. He says, "Pond Boss, why do they call a gizzard shad a gizzard shad?" And I look, and there's Bill Dance, and there's, Charlie Campbell, and there's Porter Wagner, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I better get this No pressure on the pond boss. I better get this right. And I said, well, Johnny, they call a gizzard shad because guess what? It has a gizzard. He said, that's right. I told you guys that. So I got to settle an argument for the guy that owns Bass Pro Shops. And he was right, by the way, because he's the one saying it had a gizzard. So gizzard shad, anytime you see a fish with a mouth underneath their face, they're bottom feeders. The gizzard shad has that. So the gizzard shad are feeding on the bottom. So that means they're stirring up mud. And then if you ever catch one and cut it open, which I've done this because I'm a fish guy, that's what I do. You cut them open and you take their intestines and stretch them out, which that sounds kind of funny. I don't care. They're about 4 times as long as a fish. So what that means to us is the kind of food that they eat takes a long time to go through their system because their system's trying to extract everything they can that's nutritious enough to support them. So they're eating everything from fish poop to muck to organic matter to sand to whatever, and they've got this gizzard that can break it down and grind it down. So here's where I'm going with that, is they do root around in the pond. I've seen them cause ponds to be muddy, but you guys up there in Beggs, Oklahoma, with the amount of rain you've had, it's probably mostly because of that. But you also got to know that those gizzard shad are going to root around in the bottom in shallow water above the thermocline. So if you've got 3-to-1 slopes, then you're only going to have a small fraction of the pond where they can actually get in and root around and muddy it up. Now, what I would do, Scott and Leah, is go get a 1-gallon pickle jar, glass jar full of your water, go set it on the shelf and see if it settles out by itself. If it does, then you don't need to do anything about it. What that's going to tell us is either the shad are muddying it up or it's because of the rain. And if it's because of the rain, you just wait it out. And it'll wait it, not wade, W-A-D-E, W-A-I-T, wait it out. Let's see what Trey Carpenter's got going on here. Trey, we talked about the lake my friend knows that had a massive die-off after the lake filled up after being like 15 feet low. My brain understands that there was an oxygen component. Explain that again if you're looking for a topic. That's a great topic. Looks like big rain's coming for a huge area of South Texas tomorrow. Lots of lakes low. Okay, so here's what goes on. Let's just go through that real quick. We got time. And I can take up a lot of time on this discussion. A little sip of Buffalo Trace. That one needs something with it. I know Joe Rogan likes it, but I am no Joe Rogan. Need a hair clip. But Debbie wants me to go to her beauty shop and learn about product. So, here we go about this topic. There probably was an oxygen component, but here's what happens when you got a pond that's 15 feet low. Here's a real important thing to know. Most ponds, if you do the math and you figure it out, do the geometry of the configuration of the bottom of the pond, if you got and if you want to do that, you got contour lines. If you want to map the bottom of your pond, you're going to find out what I'm about to tell you is right. So the top 3 feet of almost every pond and lake is the same volume of water as the rest of the lake. Now think about that. The top 3 feet is almost the same volume of water as the rest of the pond. So if you've got a pond that's 15 feet low, that's at least 2/3 of the volume of water that doesn't exist. Now, in order for it to be that low, it's either got to seep out or it's got to evaporate. Now, where Trey lives in Central Texas, you got a combination of both those things. The soils are pretty porous down there around Burnett, where he lives, but let's just theoretically say there's very minimal seepage. So over a long span of time, that water evaporates down 15 feet. Well, every time half the water evaporates, what's left in it that doesn't evaporate, which is metals, minerals, organic matter, doubles in volume. So if 2/3 of the water is evaporated, it's got about 3 times the concentration of metals, minerals, and whatever else there is that had in it when it was full. So when you get that fresh influx of rain, and now every single raindrop is acidic. It doesn't have to fall through pollution from a power plant to be acid rain. when the rain falls through the sky, it's absorbing carbon dioxide, which causes the pH to drop. And so therefore when it hits, and there's nothing in rainwater that can buffer any changes. So whatever it gets coming out of the sky, it's going to have with it when it hits the ground or it hits the pond. You know, and it's going to pick up whatever it can after it hits the ground and rolls through into the pond. So you take 2/3 of the volume of a pond that's gone, and you add that in one rain event, like what's getting ready to happen with a tropical storm blowing up from Mexico, from Merida de Mexico. It's coming across the Gulf, hitting South Texas right now. So as it's coming up, it's going to diffuse what's left in the pond. So it goes from a pH that may be 9 to a pH of 6.5 or 7. And remember, pH, all that is a measurement. And for every point the pH changes, that's 10 times the one before. So if there's a pH of 9 and it goes from 9 to 8, that means going from 9 to 8 makes it 10 times more acidic. From 8 to 7 is 10 times more acidic, which is 100 times more acidic than a pH of 9. So that's enough right there to be a stressor on those fish. Then you couple that with the fact that your water temperature in Central Texas right now is in the mid to upper 80s, and you get rainfall on top of it that's going to shove the temperature into the 70s with that much influence, with that much runoff. You're going to get a multitude of factors that are stressful to the fish. So you're going to see a major change in the metals and the minerals, and a temperature drop at the same time. The temperature drop's not nearly as harsh unless there's hail in the water, you know, which if that temperature drops more than about 10 degrees, that can be stressful as well. But that chemistry change is going to be the biggest difference. So it's a combination of factors. The rainfall doesn't have much oxygen in it, although it's capturing oxygen on the way down, but it's absorbing that carbon dioxide as well. So when it hits the surface of that pond, it's making a big chemistry change. And that is usually the stressor that can create a fish kill. You know, plus if you've got a heavy plankton bloom and it dilutes it and kills it immediately, that can also contribute to a rapid decline in oxygen. So, there you go. There's the answer for that I'm going to give you. Somebody may give you something different, but I'll argue that one all day long. John has an aeration system. We're going to put it in. Okay, dude. All right. Let me talk to you about that. Ron's saying, hey, looking good, sir. Proud of you. If you cut too much weight, we can put it back on at the cabone. His daddy, dude, he is like a chef. He can make the very best Cajun food, and he's humble about it. And it's freaking stellar food. You know, so I'm going to have to be disciplined when I go back and see Ron. It's not easy. All right, John, I want to give you a little caution about that aeration system because it just cost a guy some money. Buffalo Trace. My wife's cooking. I don't want her to see her. I don't want her to see me. I'm hiding it. Not really. Yes, really. Okay, so let's talk about the aeration system. When you put an aeration system in, a guy did that, but he didn't have power. And he stocked this, he's got like a 7-acre lake, water filled up, bought an aeration system, installed it, but he didn't have power. So he decided after he put his fish in that he'd take a generator down there, turn it on, and start aerating the pond. He did that and killed his fish. Brand new pond. Well, here's the way that works. This time of year, the water stratifies. So you can have a warm layer of water sitting on top of a cold layer of water. That cold layer of water, once it's been secluded from that upper layer of water, is going to run out of oxygen. And let me kind of just take, those of you that don't know how that works, let me just take you through it real quick. Ooh, looks like I got a bunch more questions. It's 7:15. Let me bust through that. So that top layer of water, so, you know, water at 39 degrees is the heaviest it's going to be. As the water cools or warms, it expands. Well, so in the springtime, when sun's penetrating, it's sending the heat into the water, but warm water expands so it gets lighter, doesn't weigh as much. And the heat can only go down so far and it wants to rise. So you end up with kind of a layer cake. And the defining line between the warm layer of water and the cool layer of water is called the thermocline. Well, within just 3 or 4 weeks, not even that long sometimes, that water beneath the thermocline runs out of oxygen. And it becomes anoxic. And if it's decomposing a whole lot of organic matter, it also becomes toxic. So anoxic plus toxic equals dead fish. So when he kicked on his aeration system, he brought a generator down there, kicked it on, but he didn't go through the startup process. The startup process is turn it on, let it run for 15 minutes, and turn it off. Then kick it back on the next day for 30 minutes, and then kick it off. Then the next day, kick it on for an hour, so double the time, and after about 10 days, you're able to run it 24/7. Which that's another topic for later, because I want to see what else we got. We got 14 more comments down below I need to look at. And so what he basically did was he caused a turnover in his pond that killed a giant number of his fish, which he just got through writing a pretty big check for. So, John, here's your caution. Follow the startup instructions for that aeration system. Don't just kick it on and expect everything to work well. If you haven't had it on and you're in the summer, start it up slow. Let me see what we got here. Leah and I grilled redfish, dude. Oh my gosh. Oh Lord, you went to Venice? Hey, you know what? I want to go to Venice. And actually, I want to go tuna fishing, man. This is the time of year. We went 85 miles off of Venice and did a tuna trip a few years ago. Came home with about 50 pounds of tuna fillets. I love redfish. Well, I grilled chicken. Production chicken. Debbie's wrapping up a pork tenderloin in there. We're going to have supper. We got 6 grandkids and son and daughter-in-law here tonight. Hello, Eric Collerman. Good to see you, buddy. Mark Williams. Agree. Great customer. So, yeah, Texas Hunter, Michael Eric. Yep. Jim Allen, one of our Kentucky's best. Buffalo Trace. Hey, it's the oldest one, right, Jim? I think it is. Top. Danny Mack got involved talking toe titer beetles and forgot. Yeah, hey, I'm glad you're on now. Okay, 2-year subscription for John. Woohoo! Cheaper than a Friday night date, but don't tell your wife I said that. Let's see here. All right, Eric is saying, let's see here, I messed up something here. Y'all bear with me a minute. Eric is saying, any way for the layman to easily visually tell the difference between a native or northern largemouth bass versus a Florida? I have both of them up on my, I don't know which is which. Okay, I will tell you this. Every Florida strain largemouth bass I've ever seen is mottled. It's almost like it's camo on the top. It's got dark blotches both above and below the lateral line, where northern strains typically don't. But that's the qualifying statement. Here's the truth, is just because it is mottled doesn't totally mean that it's a Florida bass. If it's crossed with a northern, it can have that same modeling, except it's usually a little bit more faded. So I have both, but I don't know which is which. You know what? Just look, and I tell you, put them in the live well, look down on them, and if you can see a difference where some of them are mottled, mottled, M-O-T-T-L-E-D, mottled, where they're kind of camo looking, dark green blotches, that's going to be your Floridas, and I would tell you that's going to be true. Danny Mack, praying for rain. I bet you are in San Antonio, dude. You need that. South Texas is always needing to be blessed by rain. R.E. Thompson got finished from the 8 yards in time. So R.E. Thompson is 122 years old, minus about 40 years. He's 80-something. Most active 80-something guy on the freaking planet. He takes care of widows. He mows grass. He has a ministry. Takes care of prisoners. He rides a motorcycle. He just renovated a boat. It's just irritating to hear how much that guy does. And he manages ponds. He's a stud. R.E. Thompson's a stud. Why does the rain kill the bloom? Well, you know what? That question is going to be in the next issue of Pond Boss Magazine. What the rain does is it dilutes the food chain and it drops the temperature. So, I wrote that down. I don't know if I emailed it to you. If I didn't, I'll try to remember that tomorrow. I got to leave at 5 in the morning to go do a consultation. So it doesn't push them down the water column. it pretty much annihilates them because it changes the temperature and it takes their food sources, it dilutes the food source. So they oftentimes will regenerate, but you can jumpstart that with a little bit of fertilizer, maybe like 1/4 of a dose. So I'd say that would be an idea that you could have to do. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. Chance Birch, good time, dude. What's a good time frame to stop feeding catfish to maybe have a better catch rate? 3 days. 3 days. If you'll stop feeding them for 3 days, it takes them about 8 to 12 hours to digest the feed. Takes them another day to figure out that they're hungry. Then after that, then they're going to be hungry again. Wonder if you'll end up, John Harrison, I wonder if you'll end up with tiger bass. You probably will. But you may end up with some F1s, F2s, FXs. You may end up with some pure strain floors, some northern. You don't know. Mark Williams. So, we have discussed this, but still not sure what to do. February 2025, North Central Arkansas. Yep. Okay, as you know, but presenting a question for others as well as to finalize what I'm going to do. About a 4-acre puddle, max 20 feet, 24 Vertex, tiger bass. Too busy to electroshock this year. Game fish folks were moving, busy. Final answer, please ship up for American Sport Fish, a truck full of threadfin shad or a truck full of golden shiners, or a truck with half and half. Half and half. If you can do half and half, then you hedge your bets. Now here's the thing. Threadfin shad are going to die in the winter in Mountain Home, Arkansas. It gets cold. You have this thing called winter, which is just cool enough to take out those fish. Where the golden shiners, so what basically, when you have threadfin shad, you're going to fill an open water niche, where with golden shiners, you're going to fill a deeper water shoreline niche, and more of a littoral zone. Hey, look that up. That's a big scientific word. You're going to fill the production zone along the edges of the lake with golden shiners. Cedar trees, like you spoke before, you would not believe how many people are ready to change their artificial Christmas tree. You know what? I will, because I married one of those. I got an artificial Christmas tree laying out here in my damn garage. I don't know what to do with it except maybe donate it to Mark Williams. Next time I go to Mountain Home, I might bring the damn thing with me and put it in your pond. I don't know why I keep looking in there like I'm going to get busted. There we go. All right. Mark Williams, there's your community question right there. And intel, good intel. Oh, good. I'm glad John's aware of the startup process. Now everybody else is. Kevin Matney checking in. Hey, man, yeah, I'm glad you got the hat. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Uh-huh. You guys are pretty funny. Been married 30 years. She is pretty cheap. Well, she married you. And we haven't even met. I know we will now. We have to. We're going to be good friends. I can see it coming. Hey, you guys are welcome. You know what? I got grandkids and about half a finger's left of Buffalo Trace. I'm going to finish that off and then go eat some chicken and pork tenderloin and whatever else that she's cooking with it and hang out with it. So you know what? We made it through this thing. 2 tries, but here we are. So hey, you know, as I tell you, I'm humbled that there's so many people that want to watch this and talk about it and ask such good questions. It keeps me fired up. You know, it really does. So I don't know where I'm going to be next Tuesday, but I got a pretty good idea that I'm going to be hanging out with you. So what I'm going to do is wrap it up right here and just tell you guys thanks for watching and adios for now. Pond Boss, $35 a year, cheaper than a Friday night date. So I'm going to go have a date. See you. Bye.